After Boris Johnson's visit to Belfast yesterday, all eyes will be on the House of Commons today.
And could we see parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol scrapped? Well, join us now to discuss that as political correspondent with the Irish Examiner, Aoife Moore. Good morning.
Good morning.
To you, Aoife. So there is talk, of course, we know Boris Johnson was in Belfast yesterday meeting all the parties. So some parties were happier than others. Really just one party was happy. But Liz Truss is going to make an announcement today, potentially to introduce legislation that could bypass Brexit deal. Is that what we're expecting?
Yeah, she's going to announce she is overriding parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol. So I would like to point out that the Northern Ireland Protocol is something that Boris Johnson's government negotiated and signed themselves, and now they don't like it anymore. This is an international treaty, and if they override part of it with domestic law, they will be breaking international law. Will this be
a third time? Was it in 2019, 2020?
This is hilariously the deal that was supposed to be oven ready. Yes. This is what Boris Johnson kept saying at the time. This is an oven ready deal. Now, the DUP and the UUP, two unionist parties in the north, have serious issues with the protocol. A lot of them are, I would say most of them are cultural in terms of like their issues with them, but
in some way separating, which it doesn't.
They believe that it has broken the link between Northern Ireland and the British mainland, and as the British people, they don't want that. If you speak to any business association, any chamber of commerce in the north, they say, yeah, there's a bit of paperwork, but we actually quite like the protocol. It's made Northern Ireland more attractive to foreign direct investment. It's a good deal because we are connected to the EU and we are connected to the UK.
Absolutely.
So I find some of it as like turkeys praying for Christmas at some point. But Boris, as you said, came to Northern Ireland yesterday, and the only people who were happy were the DUP. Apparently he got into a bit of a row with Naomi Long, the leader of the Alliance Party. Mary Lou McDonald said she had a really tough meeting with him. It was clear from both their press conferences that the words they used, that Boris Johnson was only interested in placating the DUP. Jeffrey Donaldson was...
Who are a minority now.
Yeah. There is no majority.
There
is no majority community in Northern Ireland.
But in terms of a unionist, unionism is now seen as a minority. So to be bending over backwards for a smaller minority now is frustrating.
The DUP aren't even the biggest party in Northern Ireland anymore. Sinn Féin are. And there are 90 MLAs in Stormont. 53 of them support the protocol.
Okay. So
he is playing to a minority of MLAs. Now, you could also argue that that minority is holding Stormont to ransom. Yeah. You know, Stormont has not returned, the executive has not returned, because the DUP have said they're not coming back unless the protocol is fixed.
Let's talk about Boris a little bit, because we know that he played politics with Northern Ireland. That is not me just throwing this out there. He used it because Theresa May had a backstop agreement, used it to basically supplant her and take power. And it worked perfectly.
Ironically, the backstop was actually a better deal.
It was a better deal. We all know the backstop for Northern Ireland was a better deal. So he used it to supplant power, and now it feels like he visited a munitions factory yesterday, essentially, in Northern Ireland, which visually is terrible. But he's going... It was so questionable, but he's like, this is going to Ukraine, talking to his base in England, going, we're good people, look, go back to World War II, look at us, we're helping freedom. Yeah. But he's doing this visually in Northern Ireland, and now you're just sitting there going, OK.
So much of it is to do with the optics and the politics. Yeah. Like, it is hard to believe sometimes that Boris Johnson really believes in anything when it comes to stuff like this. You know, someone said on Sky News the other day that they had to explain how elections worked in Northern Ireland to the Prime Minister at one point. So you need to remember that I actually am at the point now where I think Brexit is a state of mind of these people. He's on his back as his backbenchers, you know, get Brexit done, all of this sort of stuff. And they are also spooked that Sinn Féin are the largest party in Northern Ireland. Their obviously ultimate goal is Irish unity. They want to be seen to protect the union. The DUP are really freaked out. So a lot of this is trying to placate the DUP to try and get Stormont back together and say, no, the union is safe, because naturally they feel very threatened now. But a lot of, Boris Johnson took out a 2-page opinion piece in the Belfast Telegraph and said, we need to work together with the EU all this. And then Simon Coveney told us yesterday that they haven't heard anything from the British negotiating side since February.
So what are they doing?
So what, because we're talking about this legislation, do we have any idea what this legislation might be? Because did he not say that they're wanting to override the protocol but not make new legislation?
The phrase he used yesterday was fix it, don't nix it. These phrases, honestly, God.
I think I went from RTE to Virgin Media to Sky News to Channel 4, and I was like, if I hear that one more time.
I know. The plans so far, I've just reading a wee bit about this morning, they said around tax and trade. The main issue with the DUP is the over checks. So the goods coming to Northern Ireland are checked in England because they can't be checked at the border because it would contravene the Good Friday Agreement to do checks on the border. But the EU have actually made a lot of compromises. They said, OK, 80% of the checks can be done away with if you can do a bit of paperwork that proves they'll stay in Northern Ireland, they're not going to go over the border into the Republic. That appears not to be enough for the British, and that's why you hear the Taoiseach and Simon Coveney saying they're frustrated. The goalposts keep moving now. They don't know if anything is going to be enough. It was said to me during the week, and it's been reported quite widely, that EU-UK relations and Irish-British relations haven't been this bad in a very long time.
That's not good stuff to hear when you're talking about Northern Ireland, and we know that they're thinking about scrapping Article 7.1 in the protocol, which is Northern Ireland is overseen by the European Court. And we've seen everything that's happened when we're talking about Bloody Sunday and what's happened when we take that and the legacy of that, which is going to have certain communities very angry. Are we getting to the point where Europe are just going to go, no, we can't, like, what else can we can't bend over anymore?
You think as well that, like, the EU has shown so much patience. Now, Ireland's a relatively small country, and they have backed us to the hilt when it comes to Brexit. You know, they're very diplomatic, and I think a lot of it you can even see in some of the speeches from European leaders that they're quite taken aback that a country would act like this, threaten to break international law on the world stage. What
are people in Belfast, from the union side, are they happy to back DUP to this? If DUP stand firm on this, is that going to get them more votes? And are they going to wait till September where there will be forced to be another election through this?
I would say I don't think the DUP can wait till September because the people of Northern Ireland will not house it. The last time we had a Stormont stalemate, the last time Stormont collapsed, it was so unpopular. Really, really deeply unpopular. There's also now a cost of living crisis and all the MLAs signed in. So all the MLAs are getting paid whether Stormont sits or not. That's not going to sit well with people either. The DUP tried to make this election about the protocol, and from every debate and every politician you spoke to, they said to you the protocol was not brought up in any great shape or form on the doors. It was cost of living, it was the health service, and it was housing.
We're seeing that everywhere.
The DUP are trying to play to the right of their base that they have lost to the TUV, but it's a vanishingly small minority of people that they're playing to, and now everyone in the north is going to suffer if Stormont doesn't come back.
And it certainly might bring to the fore how Stormont is formed when one party is holding everyone to ransom.
Yeah, it has. A lot of people have made the point that Stormont does need reform because this isn't democratic either.
100%. And I'm sure that you have got every single radio and television show to do today because it's our only reporter who can speak about Northern Ireland. It's Aoife Moore
the token
from the Irish Examiner. Aoife said the other day, there are other Northern reporters.
There are other Northern people you could do this.
But we love you. Up next, we're going to chat through some of the top stories making today's papers.
Back after this break.